Hello, Facebook fans and YouTube fans of DX Engineering. It is Friday afternoon here in the Eastern time zone of the USA. It is 21 Zulu on February 23rd, 2024, and this is the weekend special. Today we have two special guests from the Tango X-Ray 5 Sierra team that went to Clipperton Island. We have Gene, K5GS, and Steve, W1SRD. Hello, Gene and Steve.
Hi, Tim.
Hello, Tim.
Great to have you guys here. Gene, why don't you tell us about why Clipperton? What was the idea, and how long ago did you guys come up with the idea? How long did it take to plan it?
Well, after the pandemic, we were looking for some place to go, and we went off to the Austral Islands, Tango X-Ray 5 November. And we actually had a good 2 weeks there. And when we came back, and that was a fly-in. So when we came back, we started talking about getting back into the types of DXpeditions that we're accustomed to, the tent, boat, and generator projects. And Clipperton came on the radar. It hadn't been activated in about 12 years, 11 or 12 years. And it sounded like something we wanted to do. So we approached the government of French Polynesia and had a number of meetings with them. We enlisted Philippe, FO4 Bravo Mike in Tahiti, to be our local on-site translation expert. And after about 8 months, they agreed, gave us a landing permit. And at the same time, we had been working with a boat with the Shogun owner, Frank Leprest, in San Diego. And then we started working on the license with the ANFR, which is French FCC. And it all came together, I guess it was March of 2023. Everything came together after about 8 months.
Wow, that is, I guess that's pretty fast, Gene, would you say, in terms of going from the idea to having everything ready?
Yeah, it is quick. Although I'll tell you, the VP8PJ, that one went pretty quick also, the South Orkney Islands. I'm concerned, though, these days things are going to take a little longer because of more regulations.
So, you mentioned, Gene, that French Polynesia was, that was where your contact was. That was the licensing authority. That's a long way from Clipperton Island.
Yeah, it's a long history of ownership of Clipperton Island. There was quite a bit of dissension. The French were involved. The Mexican government was involved. And I don't remember the exact year. I think it was sometime in the 1930s. There was a tribunal. And the Italian government actually made the decision that Clipperton Island belongs to the French. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it is very close to Mexico, and it is, it was a really good shot. Steve, when you think about how close to the U.S. that Clipperton is, I mean, Steve, what about 6 meters? How did 6 meters go when you guys were there?
Well, we'd made quite an investment, thanks to Andreas and 6NU, in 6 meter and satellite gear, and we used the EME antenna for terrestrial. So I mean, it was a dual beam. It was a lot. Unfortunately, we just didn't have a good terrestrial opening. It was really kind of a disappointment. We worked some southern tier states, and that was about it. I mean, we were fingers crossed that we'd have one of those huge openings, but January is just not the right time of year.
Now, when was the first DXpedition, Steve, to Clipperton? That wasn't that long ago, right?
The first one I know of personally is about 97, but I think there was one before that, isn't there, Gene?
Yeah, I remember one in 78, but they were also before that. It was a wide open DXpedition opportunity before things got tightened up with regulation.
And when was the last time, Gene, that people were actually living on the island?
Oh, gee, a zillion years ago. It was a guano
Island.
island, and so they had Mexican nationals trying to turn this into a commercial enterprise. And it's been quite a long time. It's got a sordid history. There was a murder there, and that pretty much ended the civilization that was attempting to commercialize the island.
And
Probably World War II, probably World War II-ish and a little bit after.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true too. World War II, the American government built a weather station there in December of 1944. And of course, the war was going to end the next year. And the station was decommissioned in the end of 1945, somewhere around there. And what a lot of people don't realize is a U.S. Navy ship went aground at Clipperton Island.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, an LST. And the government, the Navy tried for months to get that ship off the reef, and they couldn't, so they abandoned the ship.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an interesting story.
So, one of the things that I remember, I think it was the late 70s when the guys were there, was that the coral was so sharp that it would just tear up tennis shoes.
That has been our experience on every one of these islands, especially the volcanic islands. We saw that on Ducie. It was amazing how your shoes got ripped up. And this time I knew better. I wore hard sole shoes. Steve?
Well, me too. I bought and brought to both Ducie and here some nice boots that are now in the trash.
So, Steve, tell us about the trip going from California out to Clipperton. The trip out. How was that?
Several of the team members spent a good portion of the trip in their bunks. It started out extremely rough, which never, gets people off to a good start that are prone to seasickness. And it calmed down after a few days, but the first few days were quite a ride. It's a long way exposed to the wide open Pacific. I mean, it was 1,600 miles each way, and turned out to be 8 days each way. So we were at sea a lot.
And that's the thing about these boat DXpeditions. You get on the boat and you go there, and you're sick the whole time. So you're already worn out. Then you've got to construct a station, and then you're going to be on the air for all these shifts, right? And so you're worn out. You got to tear the station down, then get back on the boat and get sick again.
Well, not everybody got sick.
But Gene, it sounds like a great thing to do.
It's great. And what I find amazing is the people that get seasick keep doing it. I mean, the draw of the expedition is just so strong. They know what they're going to go through, and yet they do it again and again. So
let's talk about surprises. Gene, what was the surprise that you remember about this DXpedition?
I don't think it was a surprise, however. We were warned both by the French government and French Polynesian government and by the owner of the boat that we were going to have to go over a reef. And I was actually surprised when I saw the challenge that the boat handlers had to deal with in getting the small boat over the reef safely. They made 42, I think it was, trips back and forth to bring equipment. And one of the crew members had been on the island before. So he'd been to Clipperton 20 odd times for scientific and government purposes. So he knew what to expect. The other crew members didn't. So they got a very quick learning curve on how to maneuver a small skiff or a small boat over the reef. Steve?
Yeah, what's different about Clipperton compared to some other places we've been is it's got neither a safe harbor nor does it have a fringing reef. So it basically goes from deep Pacific Ocean up to the reef. And what it leaves is a very, the basically where the waves break is actually pretty close to shore. And between where the waves break and shore, it's extremely shallow. So high tide was about the only time to safely get on and off, and a very small gap in the reef that they had to take the boat through. So yeah, the landing was a huge challenge. I would add secondarily, and we knew about this as well, but until you're experiencing it, the heat and humidity kind of exceeded what I was anticipating. I think it was a little warmer than normal, low 90s as opposed to high 80s, but those few degrees make a big difference.
Yeah. So did you go at a favorable time of the year though, when you're talking about, some of the heat and humidity?
Yeah, this is the coolest time of the year.
One of the things you have to think about when you charter a boat is the boat's schedule. Can the skipper or the owner accommodate you at the time you want to do it? And it just so happened January was the Shogun's down month, and in fact, right now they're in the yard being upgraded. And they told us this is probably the best time you can go, both from a weather and the seas, the situation with the water.
Right, right. And so yeah, I guess, you took the most favorable time. Let's talk a little bit about the radios. I mean, you had Elcraft and you had ICOM.
Elcraft for the HF stations and ICOM for the satellite EME stations. Amplifiers range from Elcraft. I think they were all, and one PGXL, one flex amplifier on the HF side. And the 6-meter equipment, I think it's custom made amps. I think they were out of Germany, weren't they, Steve?
Yeah, Andreas works with a guy in Germany.
Yeah.
So you had a good mix of equipment. Did the equipment hold up?
Absolutely. Yeah, no question.
Absolutely. And I don't know if, you'll see some pictures soon, but the dust and guano coated everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never actually seen gear get that dirty that fast.
Yeah, when we got back to California, we came into San Diego. The equipment is stored up near Sacramento, but there was a stop at Elcraft to drop off all the Elcraft gear to be refurbished. It quite frankly looked terrible.
Oh boy. And so let's talk about sponsors. Who were the sponsors that helped make this possible?
You, DX Engineering. You have supported every one of our projects, and and this, I think, is number 7 for us. So we appreciate your help.
Yeah, we're very, very proud to do that and work with you and Steve. I mean, this is what we do, and I see, of course, Elcraft and LBS. You've got great partners here.
Yeah, and and the other thing too is I don't want to forget our major sponsor was the Northern California DX Foundation, financial sponsor, a German DX Foundation, Clipperton DX Club out of France. I mean, there were 55 clubs supported us this go around, which is pretty consistent with our previous organizations, operations. And then, of course, the individuals. We've had zillion individuals helping us.
Right. So what is the overall budget for this DXpedition, Gene?
Well, it's not completed yet, but my estimate was $350,000, and it's going to come in right around $350 to $370, somewhere's in that range. I'm still waiting on some final invoices.
So I mean, this is a very expensive deal, and of course, you had a tremendous team. People like N7QT and EY8MM and WD5COV. I mean, we're talking about some really, amongst the two of you, but here, real powerhouse guys.
And I think the results kind of speak for themselves. What I was really taken by was some of our QSO totals per day. The first 2 days that we got all the stations on the air, we did 17,000 Qs each day, and that's with 5 stations. So I thought that was pretty phenomenal.
That is very, very good. And Gene, let's talk just for a minute about if somebody wants to help support now that it's done, but still help you get to your goal. How best to donate?
They can go to the website, Tango X-Ray 5 Sierra.net, and there's a donate button on the website. Or if they've already worked us and are going to process a LOTW or a OQRS, they can add some extra money to the OQRS.
Yeah, there's do you see the OQRS there?
Oh, there it goes.
Yep.
Okay, good. So that M0 United Radio X-ray is your QSL manager, and there's PayPal donations, so forth. But the website is that's a really well done website, Steve.
Actually, Gene can be thanked for that. He did all the hard work on that one.
I mean, this just looks great, and of course, the question that you guys get asked all the time now. It was a great DXpedition. Everybody got back safe and sound. Had a great time. Thousands of hams around the world got to work it. But the question is, with your guys' experience, what are you thinking of next? Gene, what's coming up next?
Well, it's funny you should ask. Steve and I were talking about it this morning. I'm not going to let out anything. I mean, one of the challenges with this is you have to have the permit, you have to have the transportation, and you have to have the license in hand before any public announcements. It's interesting. You don't want to upset a government agency. They don't want to find out that there's an amateur radio expedition going to XYZ, but they haven't issued a landing permit yet.
Right. But you guys are working on something, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, I guess, and maybe Gene, you can tell us a little bit about this, but it's in your blood.
I've been DXing for 47 years, and after I retired in 2012, I said, what am I going to do next? I'm already on the honor roll, and so that's why I started DXpeditioning, just to start giving something back.
Yeah, no, that's just tremendous. Steve, what was your fondest memory of the DXpedition when you were out there?
Probably a 17-meter phone pileup. I was using one of the K4s at the time, so I could see the pileup in the band scope. And even though I was just saying up, I wasn't giving any specific instructions. The pileup stretched the band edge. I fully expected to get some nasty emails about it, but we didn't get any complaints.
That's great. Well, I think part of it is too that, during COVID, we weren't getting DXpeditions, and everybody is just so happy to have guys back out there and doing this. I do want to recognize some of the guys in the chat room. And if you haven't donated to Tango X-Ray 5 Sierra, think about doing it. But Papa Yankee 2 Papa Tango is in there. November 6 Whiskey Mike in the chat room. Also X-Ray Echo 2 Zulu Zulu. And we've got Edwin Oscar Echo 5 Papa Oscar Papa from Austria is in there. Kilo Echo 4 Kilo Yankee. November Yankee 0 Victor. Thanks for the new 160 and 6 meters, 2 band slots. That's great. November 0 Sugar Lima. We've got our friend Michael, W3 Mexico Lima, Japan. Gene, keep your eye on W3MLJ. He's going on a DXpedition here. They're going to the Virgin Islands here this week for the ARL DX contest, and they're all youth operators. It's really cool. So he's an up-and-coming guy. We got Dino, Kilo Lima Sierra, on from Virginia. Our friend Craig, Kilo 1 Quebec X-Ray. Bob the Traveler, WD8 November, Victor November. From Australia, where the sun is just coming up. Let's see, good to fill band slots. Victor Kilo 4 Victor Oscar. Our friend Addie from England, Germany 6 Alpha Delta, and Adam about ARL DXCW. Jim, Kilo Bravo 8 November, and Oscar November 6 Papa Lima from Belgium. Hey, there's David, WD5COV, the Top Band expert, and the Top Band Express worked great. That's the antenna that David is very proud of, and he should be, because he had a big signal on Top Band. And Mike 0 Juliet Tango Victor, all-time new one on 160. Kilo Echo 9 Bravo Victor from Kansas. Oscar November 6 Papa Lima. And let's see, I got them in my log. November X-Ray 3 Hotel in South Carolina. So, Gene, are you guys, between you and Steve and some of the other members, coming around to the Hamfest, Hamvention circuits this year?
Yeah, we'll be at Visalia. Most of the team, well, much of the team, I should say, will be at Visalia. I'll be at Dayton, and I'll be in Friedrichshafen.
Great. Well, it's super that you'll be able to get out there and meet some of the guys that worked you, and just congratulations on a job well done, Steve. Just a tremendous job, and thanks to you and the rest of the team, and Gene for your leadership in doing this. And we wish both of you the very best going forward.
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate your help and the help of your team.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm very proud of our, as you know, Gene, very proud of our DX engineering team. And we will look forward to helping you with many DXpeditions in the future. So keep up the great work, and we'll look forward to those, and we'll see you at some of the events here this year. And thanks to all of you for watching today. We hope you had a good time. Go to the Tango X-Ray 5 Sierra website and see if you can help these guys out. And again, we'll see you next time for more information on the greatest hobby in the world, amateur radio. Until then, 73.